So is this an aluminum can or an aluminium can? The answer might surprise you. A few weeks ago, my wife and I were on vacation or holiday in England and France, and while we were in England, we took a tour of the Tower of London. At the end of the tour, the yeoman warder that was conducting our tour, this guy right here, opened the floor up to questions. But before we were allowed to ask anything, he tells us, before you ask anything, I'm going to answer the most popular questions first. I'm going to save you a lot of trouble here. Well, one of his answers that he blurted out was this. It's pronounced aluminium, not aluminum. And he was quite forceful about it. And rather than starting an international incident, I decided, well, I'll let it go. But it got me thinking, was this just another case of the English slaughtering the language? Or shudder the thought, are we in America wrong? Surely not. Well, that drove me to do some research on the topic. Turns out there was a Cornish chemist named Sir Humphrey Davy that named the metal. And this thoughtful young man is Sir Humphrey. And although at this point he's probably just plain old Humphrey, he spent several years trying to isolate the metal that several scientists believed existed in a salt called alum. And in 1808, Humphrey's finally able to do what no one else had been able to do. He was able to isolate and identify the base metal in alum. Humphrey names this metal aluminium. Now later, in June of 1812, Humphrey in his book, Elements of Chemical Philosophy, renames the metal and he calls it aluminum. 3 months later, in September of 1812, another British scientist, this guy, Thomas Young, and he's actually the villain of this whole story, he reads Davy's book and he writes a review in which he objects to the name aluminum, and he proposes the name aluminium, because as he puts it, he preferred a more classical sounding name. Well, I should point out that Sir Humphrey also isolated and named some other metals on the periodic table, things like potassium, sodium, magnesium, calcium. You're starting to see a pattern here. So Humphrey, after being browbeat by his snooty contemporaries, led by the scientific bully, Tommy Young, he agrees to change the name and begins calling the metal aluminium. Well, over here in America, a guy named Noah Webster created and published his first dictionary called A Compendious Dictionary for the English Language. Later, in 1828, he would complete and publish his famous An American Dictionary of the English Language. A little side note here. The name Merriam-Webster, the dictionary that many of us grew up with, is actually the result of the Merriam brothers, George and Charles, starting a printing and bookselling operation. They end up securing the rights to the dictionary that Noah Webster had created, and we ended up with Merriam-Webster, the dictionary. So back to Noah. In 1828, Noah used the spelling aluminum in his famous dictionary. And it's around 1895 when the metal starts being widely used that journalists start to write about it. And in their efforts to be accurate, they turn to Noah's dictionary, and what do they find? They find the word aluminum. And so aluminum makes it into the American language. We'll jump ahead to more current times. In 1990, the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry officially standardized on the name aluminium. So there you have it. Had Humphrey had even the slightest bit of backbone and stood up to the scientific bullies of his time, he would have stuck with his preferred name, aluminum, and not gone with aluminium. And the world could be in harmony. At least that's my take on it. Have a great day. Hey, as always, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and click the thumbs up button down below. It really does help. If you'd like to be notified when we publish new content, go ahead and click my channel icon to subscribe. And finally, while you're here, take some time to check out some of our other videos. Have a great day and get out there and do something new today.